Hey everybody, Hunter back again from Showtime Studios. Just the last video for tonight. Actually, pretty tired after work today, so not getting a whole lot of progress done tonight. But we did get the lower body resprayed that we just uploaded the video on. Came out real good. Other than going back in and sand it down a little bit, get it ready for the clear coat. I got a couple little dust nibs in it, but no big deal. We'll get those sanded out with the 3000 grit, and then we will do a coat of TS13 clear from Tamaya on that section. Once that is done and I get it wet sanded and buffed, which we will probably do on video also, and do some detail on the running boards, we're going to go ahead and glue this lower section down to the chassis, and that part will be wrapped up. As you can see, I've already got the interior installed. I didn't do a video on that because basically, the interior of a model is really no different than anything else. It's basically, prep your parts, paint your parts, glue your parts in, do your detail work on them. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. So I left that video out because you see me put the seats in. The dash install was basically, two pins, glue that in. We already had the steering column and the steering wheel on it, and then just gluing the side panels down. And that was all there was to that. And then I was trying to make a decision on the way that the firewall fits in this particular model. There's two little tabs that stick out here on these side panels that come up to the cowl. And that's actually what the firewall mounts into. It has lines on the back of it and it has a groove right here on each side. And that lines up on those little pins. Normally, your firewall gets installed into the body. But in this case, I had to test fit it and then slide the body down over top of all this just to make sure that the firewall actually fit the body once you go to slide it down into place. And it looked real good. So what I did is I went back in just separately and I painted the firewall the same color as the body. So what we're going to do is when all this dries up, I'm going to do a little bit of panel line wash on it, and we're going to go ahead and glue that in place. So that'll be ready. All the lower part of the car will be done except for the exhaust. We're going to do an exhaust tutorial. It'll probably be one or two steps, something like that, or parts in the series. We'll do the cleanup on it. We'll get the initial base coat down on everything. We'll do a little bit of heat staining. We're not going to do a lot. We're going to simulate, more of a stainless exhaust on it. I do have to make a modification where I have to clip off the tailpipes back here because I went ahead and installed it the rear end first. And what they want you to do is put the exhaust up in place first, but we didn't have all that painted. And in fact, when I did the rear end, the chassis and stuff wasn't painted. So we're going to do a simple modification on that. I'll show you how that works. So that's the two parts that we have to put in yet. And of course, we've already mentioned the firewall in here. And we have the grill to go in. This is all chrome. We've got to clean it up yet. And then we're going to do a black wash on it. We'll use the accent color from Tamaya in black in these ribs, which will look real good. So we'll do that on camera. And this will actually be one of the last pieces that gets glued into place. And then we have the chrome parts that are left. We have the front and rear bumpers. I'm going to go ahead and clip them off the parts tree. We're going to get them in a coat of TS79, the semi-gloss black, or the semi-gloss clear, just to tone them down a little bit to kill the kit chrome. We're not going to strip the chrome and redo that. We're going to use them as is. In fact, they actually are molded very well, straight out of the kit. No injector pin marks on them, which is kind of refreshing to see. These here are mounting pins where they slide into the front and rear of the body there. So we're going to use them as is. I'm going to do the semi-gloss clear on the outside, and I'll probably just do a black coat on the inside just to clean that up. We have the rear view mirror to go on yet, which goes right here in the center of the dash. And then we have the front and rear license plate brackets that need to go on. And what else do we have on here? The exhaust tips. which I just looked that up on my scale calculator, and the exhaust tips actually come out to almost 5 inches in diameter. So a little big. I'm going to have to see what they look like on the end of the pipes once we get back to that point. And you can go in and drill these out. That is part of box stock rules. You can drill out things like that. So we will go in and probably drill them out, paint them black on the inside, and then I've got to clean up a mold line all the way around them. So these may end up being that liquid chrome. We'll probably dot that on with the brush like we did on the shifter and on the upper intake up here. So we'll see what happens when we get to that point. And that's all the chrome parts that we need to install yet. So that'll be probably in one of the last episodes of the series. We also need to do the clear parts, which is basically the tail lights, the headlights, and the front and back glass. And that's it. That's all we have. And in fact, I'm looking on here, and no, we do not have tail lights. There is no turn signals on the back of this car or on the front of this car. We have the headlight lenses in here, the front and back glass, and that is it. That's all we have as far as clear parts. So that should go pretty quick. And what else do we need to talk about here in this episode? Let's see, we have the decals. I'm going to be using very few of the decals that come in the kit. It is a very nice decal set. They're not real thick, not a whole lot of extra carrier film on them. So they look pretty good. But we're going to be using these two decals right here. It's kind of like a tombstone scene. It's got the purple and more of a lavender. And of course, you can see the yellow and red and orange in there with the black tombstone sticking up. I think that'll look pretty cool. And that'll go in this insert right here on the body on both sides. So that's a decal that we will be doing on the body, and we'll do a video on that also for the beginning guys out there. I'll give you a crash course on putting decals on. And then they give us some black and white scrolls here, pinstriping. And I'll probably go ahead and use the white ones. I know I want to use one up toward the peak of the hood, up in this area here. And on the back, I'm not real sure because most of that's going to be wood grain. So we may only use one of the scrolls on it. And then there's a couple other little odds and ends decals that I may put on it. We'll see. There's some more pinstriping right here that could possibly fit somewhere on the back of it. But like I say, we'll see as we go along with that. But I'm definitely going to use these two decals here on the body. So that'll be coming up. Of course, we have, like I mentioned, we have the chassis. It's all where we had the bleeding around the headlights. I went back in with the airbrush, touched that up, and then we put a full coat of TS7 straight out of the can down on it. It looks very good right now, but we do have to, buff it out or sand it out a little bit, get it ready for clear. All the interior's in, the wood grain's in the back, which you will never see when the body goes on. I was asked if I'm going to do the wood grain underneath of the car. No, I am not. This car, when it's done, I'll actually put a drop of crystal clear adhesive on the bottom of the tires, and it will set right down on the display board, and that will be its home for the next year while it goes to whatever shows that we end up taking in 2018. And then after that, it'll come off the board and go in the display cabinet. So we're not going to do anything fancy underneath of it. In fact, the underneath of this section here, I'm going to do all that in semi-gloss black. That's what that's going to be. Just to, and I could actually leave it just like this. This is more kind of gray primer with a little bit of the TS7 white overspray on it. It actually looks pretty decent, to tell you the truth. And we could leave it like that. I don't know. We'll see, because you're not going to be able to turn it over. So we may end up leaving it just like this. We'll find out later on down the road. But we got all the chassis done, like I say, except for putting the exhaust on. Everything else is finished up on it. So we're good there. And I'm going to set the lower body back on here. And of course, I did get the body painted. It has a very thin coat of TS13 on it, and I did that because I want to be able to handle it, and I don't want to get a bunch of fingerprints or oils or anything in the actual color coat. The clear coat's a whole lot easier to clean off, and that way we can put our decals on, and we're also prepped and ready to go for taping and doing our wood grain technique on the rear door and on both sides of it. So that'll be an upcoming episode. And then, of course, we did get the hood painted also with a coat of TS13 clear on it. And other than painting it black underneath and putting the decal on it, finish clear, wet sand it and buff it, it's done. So that's about it, really. That's where we're at and what we need to finish up yet. We're down to just, a very few parts to go. So this series will probably be wrapped up, I would say about 55 parts, something like that. Around in that neighborhood, and that'll wrap this whole series up and have a finished build. And if I can make it through the next 10 videos or so, that'll be great, because not only did I at that point accomplish a full tutorial build for the newer guys out there, which is something I've never done before. This will actually be my first street rod that I've ever finished up. So, and like I say, it's not 100%. It's not one of my competition builds. It has been a fun build. I've had a good time sitting here doing the tutorials and hopefully helping many of the beginners out and the intermediate guys. And I've noticed some of the seasoned guys coming in, leaving comments and learning tricks. So, it's been a pleasure to do the videos so far. But I do have to get this series wrapped up so I can get on to getting a competition model done for 2018. As of right now, I do not have one, so I don't know which one it's going to be. We shall see. I may get the Beetle back out. I may get the Camaro back out. I may do something totally different. I don't know. So stay tuned. I'm sure we'll do a video on it and keep you up to date on what we're working on here at Showtime Studios. So that's all we have for now. Again, I want to thank everybody for all the interest in the series and all the comments and all the questions and stuff that came up. Keep them coming, and we'll keep trying to answer them and comment as much as we can. So that's all we've got for this video. Stay tuned for some more coming up tomorrow and toward the end of the week. And as always, this is Hunter from Showtime Studios, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.